Thank you, everybody. We're ready to start. Call the meeting to order, regular city council meeting for October 1st, 2024. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Abadamas is excused. Councilmember Joseph is excused. Councilmember Pierre Washington.
Here.
Vice Mayor David Oro.
Here.
Mayor Leon Garcia.
Here. Thank you. Report on closed session, confirmation of reportable action. Mr. Ross?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, the council convened an open session at 5:32 p.m. to ascertain if there were any comments
Mr. Ross,
on the
I think you've got a problem with your mic. There you
I'm
go.
sorry.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, members of the public, the council convened an open session at 5:32 p.m. and after ascertaining that there were no comments, public comments on the matters agendized for closed session consideration, adjourned to closed session at 5:32 p.m. The closed session concluded at 6:11 p.m. I will do a written report upon return from closed session consistent with the provisions of Government Code Section 54571B. That would conclude the report unless there are questions.
Any questions from council members?
No, sir.
Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Ross. We'll proceed. Well, this evening gives me great pleasure on proclamations to have a proclamation here for Filipino Heritage Month. Do you have some recipients for it? If you want to come to the podium.
Do it.
Yes, you may all come up.
You want to say something?
Well, I consider you all my kababayan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Okay.
I'll read the proclamation, and we have an opportunity for you to make comments as well, and we will present this to you then. Okay. October 2024 is Filipino American Heritage Month. Whereas, in 2009, the United States Congress recognized October as Filipino American Heritage Month in the United States. And whereas Filipino Americans are the second largest Asian American group in the nation and the third largest ethnic group in California. And whereas the celebration of Filipino American History Month in October commemorates the first recorded presence of Filipinos in the continental United States, which occurred on October 18, 1587, when the Lozones Indios came ashore from Spanish galleon Nuestra Senora de Esperanza and landed on what is now Morro Bay. That's California. And whereas through the development of these three institutions, Filipino American Studies, FAS, Filipino American National History Society, FANHS, and Filipino American History Month, FAHM, we recognize how Filipino Americans have initiated collective grassroots efforts to ensure that their voices are heard, that their experiences are recognized, and their histories are told. And whereas we acknowledge these major historical markers in our communities, and we encourage Filipino Americans and their allies across the country to collectively celebrate Filipino American Heritage Month and these legacies in mind. And whereas we recognize the many ways that Filipino Americans have made significant economic contributions and have other profound positive influences on our community through their strong commitment to family, faith, education, hard work, culture, and service. And whereas in acknowledging the many legacies created by Filipino Americans across the United States and American Canyon, we encourage our community members to be enriched by the cultural contributions of our Filipino American friends and neighbors for many decades to come. Now therefore be resolved that I, Leon Garcia, on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Filipino American Heritage Month in the city of American Canyon.
Go ahead.
Just come over. Just grab it, and then we'll grab a photo really quick, and then you guys can say comments.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You make a comment? We'd like to get a picture.
Sure.
So whoever wants to make a
Go ahead.
comment.
I want to say a few things.
Good afternoon, everyone, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council Pierre, and good evening. My name is Jodel Cruz. I'm the current president of Filipino American organization or association here in American Canyon. I've been a president since last year, so this is my second term. As a group, our goal is to unite Filipinos, communities here in American Canyon. We have, as you all know, we have like probably 30% of the population here are Filipinos. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I can say that we're close to that. What the PILAM does or do, we do some charity works here in our community, in our schools, elementary schools, and in abroad, like in the Philippines. We donated money to like hospitals, wounded soldiers in the Philippines, and orphanage also in some areas of in the Philippines. So basically, this is like a association, organization, and to give charity works to those unfortunate people. So thank you very much for proclaiming us, for inviting us here, Mayor, and the group, and God bless us all. And my colleagues will say something about the projects that we are going to do this month.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I would like to take this opportunity first to thank the City Council of American Canyon for your continued support to the Filipino community. This really means a lot, and it pushes people, particularly of the Filipino culture, to continue the good work that they've already started. And like what the President has said, we have a lot of things lined up, things that we have done. One of which, and if I may take this opportunity to invite the public, we will be having the first Filipino Food Festival this Saturday here in American Canyon. It will be at the vacant lot adjacent to Holy Family Church. Thank you for the support of Vice Mayor Oro and Council Member Pierre Washington in sponsoring the event. Thank you very much. We've worked closely with the city as well for the permits and things like that. So thank you for accommodating us. This is really important because one of the things that the PhilAm does is to share our heritage, our culture, and our traditions through food, music, and the arts. So we will have a combination of that on Saturday. We have performances from the high school choir, from Vallejo Cultural Club, and it really accentuates the culture of the Filipinos, and something that we could all share in this community. And thank you very much again for this opportunity to be up here to receive this proclamation. Thank you.
Elmer, before
Yes.
you go, tell everybody what the name of the event is.
Manila Munchies.
There we go.
2024. I didn't know if it was appropriate for city council meetings.
It is. It's wonderful.
But it is called Manila Munchies, and it is, we will have several food trucks. I think the count as of today is 12 food trucks, all serving Filipino food. and we have 30 merchandise booths of all Filipino owned. So that is something that we're really proud of. These are people all the way from Sacramento to the Bay Area who's coming here to share their food, share their products to the city of American Canyon. So if you have a chance, and if your time permits on Saturday, please come and join us. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Okay. Hi, my name is Clarence Mamrell. I'm one of the Parks and Community Services Commissioners, also managing immigration attorney for Catholic Charities. Thank you, Mayor Garcia, Vice Mayor Oro, Councilmember Washington, and the other council members. I just want to talk a little bit about why this is important. For the Filipino American community to be seen and to be recognized. That wasn't always the case. I think a lot of us here remember when we were not seen or not heard. And, well, it's safe to say that that's not the case anymore, at least in this community. There's a big percentage of Filipinos in American Canyon. There's a big percentage of Filipino American leaders in our community groups, and our board of directors of the nonprofits here in town. There's a good Filipino representation in our commissions, and of course, Filipino representation on city council. And I haven't done the math, but after this upcoming election cycle, there will probably be more Filipino representation on city council. So that's a wonderful thing. So thank you to our city council, and thank you to this community for embracing us, embracing our culture, embracing who we are. And we will continue to embrace you right back.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, thank you, Mayor Garcia, Vice Mayor Oro, and of course, Councilman Pierre Washington. Thank you for this proclamation. It means a lot. There are a lot of Filipinos here, yes, indeed. But besides the food and the dance that we commonly celebrate together in fellowship, we also have martial arts and we have fighters here in American Canyon. Here at next door to Lasso, we have what's called the Triumph Fitness Center. We have 2 American Canyon residents, my nephews, that are fighting on December 14th in San Jose. So please come support. I also teach the Filipino martial arts. If you're interested not only eating, but also fighting in martial arts and defending yourself, I got you. But nonetheless, thank you for this proclamation. It means a lot to us, and thank you for the recognition. God bless.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, good evening. My name is Luchi, and I just want to say that at the event, Manila Munches, on Saturday, I will be there teaching how to make parol. Parol is lantern, so it's the beginning for Burr months. Filipinos starts like putting up their decorations on the months of Burr. So I'll be teaching, and we will have a big parol or lantern festival here in American Canyon, sponsored by American Canyon Arts Foundation. They funded the materials and all the rest, and I'll be teaching. If you want to join the competition, it will be the competition on December 7th, and I'll be teaching on Saturday. And I hope to see you there. I thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right, photo?
All right.
All right. Photo up.
Oh, we want,
So, ladies on the left, we actually need
Well, thank you for the comments, the presentation. I was looking forward to Manila Munchies, but unfortunately I have a conflict. It's the 40th anniversary of the Napa County Hispanic Network, and I'm a founding board member. So I'm going to try and juggle the evening, so hang on to some of those munchies. I hope there's some leftovers. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, make sure to report back on the decorations. My wife is volunteering for that event, so.
Very good.
yeah. But she's coming back from Manila Munchie, so.
Yeah, I know. Well, she works it out, right? Maybe she could take some up to share with us. Thank you very much. Next is the National Code Compliance Appreciation Month, October 2024. Yes.
Everyone has a role in code enforcement, so
Yes.
everybody's welcome up here.
Just one moment, please.
We have a presentation.
Teresa, can you please put it on the big screen for us?
All right.
Oh, sorry. My mistake.
We're not ready for that now.
I think we're getting to that a little later in the agenda, aren't we?
I know we're all looking forward to it.
Yes, right. Okay. National Code of Compliance Appreciation Month, October 2024. Whereas code enforcement officers provide health, safety, and welfare to communities throughout the state of California by educating and, when necessary, enforcing local, state, and federal laws. And whereas code enforcement officers have challenging and demanding roles and often do not receive recognition for their work to maintain and improve resident quality of life and business economic vitality. And whereas code enforcement requires extensive knowledge of building, zoning, housing, animal control, environmental, and health and life safety. And whereas code enforcement officers possess expertise and training in code enforcement certification, California law enforcement telecommunications, system certification, mediation, and conflict resolution. Whereas code enforcement officers are often facilitate assistance to homebound and vulnerable residents in need, and whereas code enforcement officers frequently coordinate their efforts with building officials, law enforcement, fire safety, and legal personnel. And whereas code enforcement officers have a highly visible role in the communities they serve and respect individuals' lifestyle choices when explaining neighborhood preservation rules and regulations. And whereas code enforcement officers often work nights and weekends, sometimes under dangerous conditions, to keep American Canyon residents and businesses safe from hazards. And whereas the American Association of Code Enforcement recognizes, honors code enforcement officers and professionals to bring awareness to the importance of code enforcement to the communities of the United States. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of American Canyon hereby recognizes and expresses its appreciation for the dedication and service of our code enforcement officers. Thank you. You have a comment you'd like to make? Yes, I would. Okay, good. We'll get a photo up after.
Maybe I could start first, if you don't mind. I just wanted to really express my appreciation for Tiffany. As you can see from the proclamation, there are many skills needed to be an effective code enforcement officer, and Tiffany provides all of these services and more. In terms of our appreciation, code enforcement is so important because it's done in concert with the cooperation of the community. And so apart from all of the technical skills that Tiffany has, the people skills are incredibly important. And she does that so well. I really appreciate that. And in the course of her doing her job to make American Canyon more beautiful and safe, she's also there and seeing people where they live, and sometimes comes across people who need help. And she also serves that purpose. So I just want to say a few words of that, my deep appreciation for Tiffany, and then turn it over to her to tell you a little more about it.
All right, thank you.
Mayor Garcia, Vice Mayor Oral, Councilmember Washington, City Attorney Bill Ross, and City Manager Jason Holly, thank you for acknowledging the work and the challenges of code enforcement. It is through this challenging work that I get an opportunity to work with various departments and staff. As a matter of fact, without the assistance of AMCAM PD, NSO, and building staff, official, and inspectors, I could not safely do my job. I want to thank my community development co-workers, Nicole Hall, Julianne Gelfis, Laura Welch, and William He, who seem to never tire of answering my questions or helping me resolve an issue.
All right.
I especially want to thank my supervisor, Brent Cooper, for championing educational development and allowing me to participate in various meetings and workshops with code enforcement staff throughout the Bay Area. Ongoing education and collaboration are vital for code enforcement for my safety. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, before you take your picture, I want you to know that out of all the residents and business owners that I've talked to, now you've written some citations to some people. And when I talk to them, I'm thinking, oh man, they're gonna complain about our code enforcement, but they acknowledge how pleasant you are, even when you give them the citations. I've been to people's homes and they're telling me, thank you for Tiffany. I'm like, what happened? She wrote me a citation. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. In my whole lifetime in law enforcement, I never had somebody thank me for giving them a ticket. So you bring a piece to this community that we have been missing. And I love what you do to the community, and I love how the community is embracing you. So thank you.
Okay, next would be National Community Planning Month, October 2024. All right. Well, yeah, we want everybody. We've got commissioners and staff, and that's the complete composition. Very good, thank you. National Community Planning Month, October 2024. Whereas, constant changes affect all jurisdictions, including the City of American Canyon. And whereas community planning provides a framework to enable all residents to work together to bring positive change with better choices for how people work and live. And whereas community planning facilitates proactive decisions making to anticipate and address future changes. And whereas community planning identifies and balances competing interests with the community, ensuring that diverse viewpoints are considered and integrated into the planning process. And whereas community planning supports economic development by guiding long-term needs for infrastructure and public services, which creates a stable and predictable environment for investment and growth. And whereas community planning promotes sustainable practices and resilience, helping communities to adapt to environmental changes and reduce their ecological footprint. And whereas community planning provides the basis for informed decision-making by local governments, ensuring that policies and actions are aligned with the community's long-term goals. And whereas October is designated throughout the United States of America as National Community Planning Month by the American Planning Association to remind and celebrate the contributions of sound planning. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Leon Garcia, and the City Council of American Canyon do hereby proclaim October 2024 as Community Planning Month in the City of American Canyon. Thank you for what you do out there, folks. There we go. Thanks, sir. All right. Like to comment?
All right, good evening. I'm Brando Cruz. I'm Chair of the Planning Commission. Good evening, Mayor Garcia and esteemed members of the Council. Thank you for this proclamation in recognizing the efforts of the American Canyons Planning Team. It is an honor to accept this on behalf of such a dedicated group of individuals, and I'd like to begin by acknowledging our Planning Director, Brent Cooper, and his staff for their, of course, tireless efforts and dedication in the development of our city. And to the Planning Commission, citizens of American Canyon who volunteer their time and expertise to ensure the thoughtful and sustainable development of our city. Their commitment to evaluating projects, policies, and plans, which is often a long-term vision for our community, is invaluable. Without a doubt, the Planning Commission plays a vital role in shaping the future of this beautiful city we call American Canyon. As our city continues to grow and face new challenges, I am confident that staff, the community, and the Planning Commission will continue to provide sound advice to make decisions that benefit our community for generations to come. We will continue to prioritize our collaboration with the public and other stakeholders to ensure that we are building a city we can all be proud of. Mayor Leon Garcia and members of the council, thank you for this proclamation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia, City Council members, for recognizing October 2024 as National Community Planning Month. I'm honored to be here as Vice Chair to express our thanks for your continued support. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge how wonderful it is to work alongside Director Cooper and our dedicated staff. Their hard work and commitment truly make a difference in guiding our planning efforts, strengthening our infrastructure, and fostering economic growth. With their support, we're building something great for the future of American Canyon, and I'm excited to continue this work alongside all of you. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Brent Cooper, Community Development Director. Just wanted to thank the staff in helping to keep the city on a growth pattern that's positive and moving us forward to a better future. I know, William, we have a wall. If you come into City Hall and look around, we have a wall covered in development projects that William has managed. He's personally handled an enormous workload and kept things going and done a great job. We have Nicole here has really shown her leadership and has been promoted to Deputy City Clerk because of her the enormous amount of documents that our department prepares, and also her work with the online permitting software and general plan management, the administrative sides, and our website. There's a lot of things that she does that she keeps moving and very positively. And then we have Laura Welch, and she's the air traffic controller of the building permit process. There are hundreds of airplanes, permits coming and going all the time. And she keeps them from crashing and moving along and safely delivering permits and construction activity on time. And of course, we just heard about Tiffany, and we're really think she's great. We have our building inspectors who aren't able to be here tonight that keep our buildings safe as they're constructed, and their leader, Ron, our new building official. So very proud, and I guess I would be remiss also in Julianne. She does a great job assisting Nicole in the administrative side of our department. I just got back from the California State Planning Conference, and I met planners from all over the state and old colleagues, and I always enjoyed bragging about American Canyon and what a city it is, because as I talk to different planners, we all face many of the same problems, but here in American Canyon, there is just a great way in which the community looks at issues and is able to work together to come with solutions. And I'm always gratified for American Canyon and being here and how proud I am especially when I go around the state and see how things are in the real world. So thank you for all of that.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you all. Good to recognize the contributions and the efforts to make American Canyon that great place it is to live. And that happens with a lot of dedication and commitment to community. Now ready for public comments. Items not on closed session or open session.
Mayor Garcia, I have one speaker card, Melissa Lamatina.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, staff, audience. This is probably not the best night to bring this up, but I'm going to go ahead and do it after our proclamations. My name is Melissa Lamatina, longtime resident here in American Canyon. And as I've been out in the community talking with community members, homeowners, business owners, and developers, I have come across a common theme. Why is it taking so long to get those permits and approvals for remodels and development? But what the community members are saying is that when they call staff to inquire about what is taking so long, they don't hear back at all, or it takes several weeks for someone to respond to them. And when they do get a call back, they receive no new information or updates. Many are told to go to the city website for their answers, but the answers they are seeking are nowhere to be found on the website. Just yesterday, I spoke with Vidi and Alex, who took over the family-run business from their parents, Mi Zacatecas, always mess that up, who have been serving this community for 17 years. And they're excited to launch their new takeover and their new ideas, but they have been unnecessarily delayed. They have submitted and done everything the city has asked, and yet they, like many others, are getting the runaround. To me, it sounds like poor customer service, or the city needs to develop a more effective way to manage and respond to the permit and inspection process. As I mentioned, this business has been established here for 17 years, and I do not believe that this is how we should be treating our respected local businesses. They are ready to open their doors, and like other businesses and developers, they are losing money every day they are not allowed to open. It sounds like the city is contracting out to outside agencies, And if this is the truth, I strongly suggest having an open conversation with the outside agencies about acquiring the knowledge and understanding regarding our community, and talk with city staff about different methods to improve our processes from our local government agencies. I would hate for our businesses and developers to turn away from American Canyon because of these prolonged delays. I think we can do better in American Canyon. And I just want to say I got a lot of compliments regarding Miss Welch. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Okay, I have no other cards unless you, I have no other cards. I do have one hand raised on Zoom.
Okay.
Okay. Justin, go ahead.
Thank you, Teresa, and good evening, Mayor, City Council. I want to make sure, I want to shout out our American Kiwanis Club and Napa Kiwanis help out there build a playground at the Bud Girl Club. It's not quite done. So I wanted to shout out our American Key Club helping out there. And we had a good time. We had pizza. And I want to thank you for the Girl Club to do that. Second one is I didn't notice. I think I saw Melissa up there. She's my neighbor. I want to thank her talk to me today, and she told me that there's a red mark couple neighborhood in my city. There's something to do with the PTG gonna be moving pole line, and I don't know if that is correct. So thank you, guys, and thank you, Kiwanis. Hopefully we will, next playground will be at Johnson Way, hopefully soon. Thank you. Good work.
Okay. Thank you for your comments.
I have no other hands raised.
Okay. Mr. Holly, to Ms. Lavatina's comments, could you look into that, please?
Of course, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, Council, we're now ready for, I'll close public comment at this time then, since there are no other speakers. We'll look at agenda changes. If there are no changes in the agenda, I'll accept a motion for the consent calendar.
I'll make that motion to accept the consent calendar.
And I'll second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Yes. Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Oro,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
Yes. Okay, next is the public hearing, Oat Hill multi-family residential major modifications.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and council members and members of the public. I'm Brent Cooper, Community Development Director. I'm glad to present to you a major modification for the Oat Hill multifamily project. This project was reviewed by the Planning Commission, and it provides a recommendation to the council for you. I'll give a brief overview for those who may not be familiar with the project or its history, and then get into each of the changes that's proposed. This is a project, of course, on Oat Hill, right out here west of City Hall on the east side of Oat Hill. It has two parcels, A and B. B is the lower one, A is the higher parcel. Also notably, this project will include an extension of Napa Junction Road between Teresa and Hess Road, which is a nice feature. A brief history. Back in 2019, the then property owner, Rick Hess, approached the City Council to see if it was appropriate to pursue amending the general plan and zoning from industrial to residential. He'd owned the property for a long time, and industrial just wasn't a feasible use on the side of the hill. So at the time, the City Council agreed with that and directed staff to expeditiously process the appropriate approvals to allow for residential on Oat Hill. One of the issues that had to be addressed in this is that the airport land use for the Napa Airport prohibits residential on a portion of the property. And so that added some extra complication to the way in which it required to be reviewed and approved. Back though in the end of 2020, the City Council approved 2 general plan amendments, 2 zone changes, 2 design permits for apartments on the lower and upper tiers, and then also that there was a subdivision map on the lower and upper. And so there was a very complicated set of approvals that came through the Planning Commission and Council at the time. Since that initial approval, the then current property owner applied for a variety of amendments along the way, and eventually the amendments coalesced into a major modification, and so we bundled them all and brought them forward to the Planning Commission. Just taking a look at the project that was envisioned, we had some photo simulations to show the hill from the bridge over on Highway 29 looking to the southwest, and you can see some tiers there of 3-story apartments. Here's the upper site plan. It has more apartments on it than the lower part, and then the lower site's a little smaller. The architecture is familiar in American Canyon. It's a farmhouse with pitched roof, has recessed patios and decks, had a concrete tile roof. It had stucco on the lower part, earth tones, color schemes, and most portions of the upper 3rd floor, it had a cement fiber, which is a wood-like appearance, in a board and batten style. And board and batten is vertical. So it kind of goes up and down with boards, and then a batten's kind of narrow, so it's wide and narrow. So that was the way in which it was approved initially. There were 2 building styles, a 15-unit and a 12-unit architecture. The landscaping included trees on the slopes in between the 2 parcels, and then within each site there were a variety of attractive sort of ornamental trees. So it had some screening to help with the mass of the buildings, and then inside shade and a seasonal color. One of the other features that has always spurred the imagination of people in American Canyon are the stunning views from Oat Hill. And so at the time of the zone change, actually it was a prior zone change, there was a goal there to include a pedestrian trail that would go around the top of Oat Hill to provide the public with a view. And that was, about 10 years ago. And so that feature was incorporated into this project and has been followed through with each of the changes to provide on the upper tier public easement to enjoy the views, which if you haven't been up there, they're really wonderful. You can see San Francisco on a clear day. These ones are looking towards the east and over Watson Ranch, which already is a little dated there in that picture. The Planning Commission reviewed the changes proposed on 3 occasions, and ultimately the applicant clarified their application that consists of 14 revisions. The Planning Commission, through its review authority and conversations with the applicant, arrived on 3 modifications to some of the revisions, and I'll get into those. And so what I'll present to you is the recommendation from the Planning Commission, which, by the way, is also consistent with the applicant's proposal as modified through their conversations. I'll go through these quickly so you don't get too tired. The roof material was amended from a concrete tile to a black asphalt shingle. There are apartments in town that have shingled roofs, much like this, so Planning Commission didn't feel that was a significant change. The Parcel A, Tyra ones, the original roof pitch was modified from 4 to 12 to 3 to 12. And for those that aren't architects in the room, 4 to 3 means it's a little shallower, not as steep a pitch. And the benefit of this change is to enable the third floor apartments to have a 10-foot ceiling, as opposed to a 9-foot ceiling. And you can accommodate that extra height without increasing the height of the building. So that seemed like an appropriate change. And then along with that, there were some modifications to the way in which the roofs were constructed, using various architectural terms here. There was a lot of conversation about the siding and trim material, and this is one of the areas where the applicant agreed to a modification. The original approval, as I mentioned, had this board and batten, which is vertical, and the change is the applicant originally wanted to just have everything stucco, but they ultimately agreed to a fiber cement lap siding, which is horizontal. And so the Planning Commission approved changing out the board and batten to lap siding. The balance of the building and the trim around the windows were amended as to be stucco. One of the changes at the ground floor, units on the ground floor have patios, upper have decks. On the ground floor patios, they have a masonry and stucco surround for the patio, along with a gate that leads out. And so the applicant proposed cedar wood fence instead of the ceramic or masonry, and then delete the gate. When the initial grading occurred, there were, as you might imagine, unanticipated conditions that required the grading to be a little different than was originally envisioned. And the slope between the upper and the lower was laid down a little flatter. And what happened because of that is the lower parcel B, the flat pad area for the apartments, was constrained to take in that extra slope. And so the buildings were reconfigured to fit this modified area that was available. And so the architecture is a little bit different, not too much, but instead of a 12 and 15 unit apartment buildings, they were changed to 17 and 18. And that's a way of being able to accommodate additional units without adding to the space that was constrained because of the grading complications that you might expect when you grade a hill. One of the more simpler changes had to do with the units have garages on the ground floor. The original approval had some of them with windows. The proposal was to delete those windows and just have a plain door. There was initially a proposal to remove 2 windows from the 17-unit apartment building. The Planning Commission was concerned about that, and the applicant agreed to keep the windows and sound rate them. There were some changes to the way in which the building was constructed that caused noise to those windows, but that would be resolved by sound rating the windows. So for all intents and purposes, there is no change apart from the way in which the building's designed, or the windows designed. The apartment color schemes are changed a little bit. The original there on the left is maybe a little more brown tan orientation. The proposed changes are less so. They're a little more crisp, I would say, describe. Blue and grays, whites. And so that was approved, recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. Color schemes, of course, are a very personal thing, and people can have a lot of different opinions about that. But the Planning Commission was unanimous on this one, among the others. The amenity buildings, which consists of the recreation building and some of the smaller ancillary buildings, were all clad in this horizontal, vertical board and batten style. And the roofs were a dark bronze metal standing seam roof. And so the changes for the roof is to change it to black shingle to match the apartment buildings. And then the initial proposal was to remove the board and batten siding entirely and replace it with stucco. The Planning Commission was concerned about that, and the applicant came back with a compromise to keep certain areas of the building kind of popped out, a little more visible perhaps, with the lap horizontal siding. And so that was a compromise the Planning Commission recommends. The one small change to a chimney feature from manufactured stone to a masonry panel system. And then some of the smaller buildings, you can see how it's just been simplified a little bit. These are small buildings, and they are stucco with the black shingle. There was a change to the windows from picture windows to another windows with mullions that have those dividers in them. The light fixtures were amended from a more traditional appearance to a more contemporary style. There were a number of walls that were increased in height and added because of the grading conditions. This is a mechanically stabilized earth wall. It's a little taller. The appearance of the wall itself is attractive with kind of a brick rough appearance. And they're mostly constructed now, you can see them. There's a soil nail wall up around the hill next to the water tank. This one was increased in height from 6 to 10 feet, and then added to that was a stone-like finish that the Planning Commission approved. And then there are some smaller 2 to 6 foot tall masonry walls. These will be painted with a weatherproof taupe paint color, and then the landscape plan was amended to add screening shrubs and landscape for these. And there is some of these walls are will be built along the top of the upper parcel, and you can see some today along the lower parcel B. And with that, we evaluated that for the California Environmental Quality Act and deemed it consistent with the original approval. And staff recommendation is to adopt a resolution to approve the Planning Commission's recommendation. With that, I'm glad to answer any questions.
Questions? Councilmember Washington.
Yeah, just one quick one, and great presentation, and I think the Planning Commission did a really good job with their recommendations. But no solar panels up there, correct?
Pardon me?
No solar panels?
There will be solar panels on the roof.
On top of the new design?
Correct.
Okay, because I didn't see that covered. So that
Right,
was
it's
my
one of the ways in which it can meet the new energy standards.
Okay, and then also on the garage, I'm just curious, what was the big significance of removing the windows out of the garage? I mean, is there something about the sun, or is there something? What's the cost?
You know, I can't say that I recall what the applicant's reason is. I know the applicant's here. I'm sure they'd be glad to answer if you'd like.
And I'm just curious if why that became an issue.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Please come up.
Good evening. My name is Stevie, and I am one of the representatives for ownership regarding this project. And the reason for the change in the garages was value engineering options. As we incurred costs with just grading and building on a hill, we started to kind of reevaluate where we could save some money. Also, with other properties that we have, the tenants have mentioned that they like their privacy, so the windows were removed for that aspect as well.
Okay, so more of a privacy type thing. Okay, no, okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Oro.
Can we go to slide 3, and then I want to hit a couple other slides afterwards, please? Or option 3, I think it was, or change 3. I don't know exactly how we're calling it. Listen, I go into Home Depot and I get scared, right? It's like I don't even know what I'm looking at half the time. Explain in layman terms board and batten and then fiber cement lap siding, and why would one choose one over the other? Pros and cons.
So it's mostly just an aesthetic that ownership has felt that, again, through other residents at other properties, have felt that the board and bat, and Brent did a really good job. It's just vertical. It looks a little outdated. So lap siding is a little bit more contemporary, more modern, and so we decided that we would rather see that on the buildings than the board and batten. That felt a little outdated.
So board and batten was there, but it was only board and batten on the top floor, correct? Okay. And I understood in early planning commission meetings, you wanted it all stucco all the way up. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so the middle ground is fiber cement lap horizontal siding,
Correct.
which looks like board and batten, but horizontal.
Yes. It's just horizontal and it gives a more modern feel.
Is there a difference in material? Does the material look different, or is the material different?
It's not necessarily different. I think the board and batten was also fiber cement batten, so it would be the same. It would just be the lap siding, so the horizontal look.
Okay. All right. That was a big thing to me because I think I'm glad you came to a compromise. That was one of the things I was like, we can't have stucco all the way up. So, slide 8, Brent, or number 8, I think it is. Okay. So you're not at fault of this, but Planning Commission approved something called the Napa Cove Apartments right here on the highway. They were more brown. They came out pink and beige. Am I going to be looking at this color when this is up and done? I guess that's a blue up there or in a gray on the bottom?
Yes, it's going to be a navy blue and it's going to be a gray. And we will have a maintenance plan in place to make sure and upkeep the integrity of the building throughout its longevity.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I just got you on public record saying that. So, so yeah, I actually think that's an improvement. And then I think I want to go to 9A, please, Brent. There we go. This one here went by really quickly. So on the left in the original is board and batten all throughout the building, correct? And then you're proposing a clubhouse, but you're only going to do, what's the lap siding? Is that what it is?
So we're going to do lap siding at the pop-outs. So there's the way that the buildings are configured for the clubhouses is there's various pop-outs. So we're only going to do lap siding at the pop-outs. That was a compromise that we came with the Planning Commission since we originally proposed a full stucco building.
So I see on the bottom right, it looks like there's stucco inside that pop out, and then there's a semi pop out, I guess underneath that chimney not chimney, but it looks like that triangle thing on the top. I don't know what they call that, but so it would just be that pop out at the bottom there, and then in the back of that would be stucco, correct?
Yeah, and you're only looking at one elevation here.
Yeah.
There's other elevations that are not included in the presentation, but yeah, it would be throughout the entire building. So the pop-outs they're all throughout the building and they would have the lap siding.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to commend the Planning Commission because I've been hearing about this for a long time, and I'm glad that you came to, took all the little things and made one major thing. I was really worried about this presentation. I was like, are they going to make it hard on me? It looks like you guys met in the middle. Where we can actually, meet what you need in terms of cost and coming to where we want to have a look and feel that is representative of a hillside project. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'd like to make my comment now. If you go to slide 8, we were looking, I think that's the color schemes. Okay. We did have a meeting, a couple of council meetings ago. A lot of public comment on architecture in American Canyon. Some folks might call some of the years you're proposing more modern, more contemporary. Is that a fit? See, the original point where it was made, the Canyon Plaza, you know where that is, that was the first large-scale project in American Canyon of that order. And it's a farmhouse represented. Metal roof, there's green, looks like board and batten siding. That fits well with this being a part of the counties was more rural. The apartments across the street next to a Walmart and the apartments to the north of that and Village at Vintage Ranch on the highway here, those colors were coordinated with the surrounding background. Buzz Butler picked the colors from the hills behind, and that kind of crenulating of the mountaintop for the roof amenities. I like the roof amenities you've come to here. But if you're going to put something that has very contrasting colors with what the background is, it doesn't, to me, seem to fit with that model that we like to express ourselves here. The color scheme you have on the left side, frankly, is a little more contemporary to what the background of the hill is. It's going to really look like it doesn't fit there, in my view, because of the color. Some of the amenities you show here, what it looks like in the future from a distance. Well, you got the summer hint, fall hint of the hill in back of it, but the contrasting color of the buildings don't really merge well with that, in my view. And I don't know how that would be in terms of architectural terms today. That's not contemporary. Contemporary to me would be always that relationship between buildings and the surrounding area, how they fit. So beyond that, I don't really have anything else to object to. I think, but that was going to be something pretty enormous in terms of visual impact, and to be sensitive to the architectural interest of those who spoke at that last meeting. Yeah, navy blue is not going to fit too well on that hill, in my view. It's not. It will make it pop. It'll make it stand out, but I don't know that that's something that's really desirable. On a side note, I was tidying up my office and I found this Oat Hill presentation, the original plan. Master plan, August 17th, 2006. And it's got, well, there's the building proposed.
Very flat.
Yes, at the time. Some improvements have been made. I think from a structural layout, you certainly have quite an improvement there. But you can see well, he was the same developer that built Kenyon Plaza at the time. And yes, we had to have some views on that. Some of the original view was, looked like bathroom windows facing this side of the view. Look, you realize what kind of views you got up there?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
You can see Mount Diablo, Mount Tamalpais, Mount St. Helena. You have an incredible view of the wetlands. Yeah. It's like folks who live over here on Cookie Hill. You know, the ones that houses are on the west side, sunset parties. I mean, it's just phenomenal over there with that. And I said, you know, take advantage of that. That's going to make that place much more valuable.
Yes.
I would just urge to reconsider the color scheme on that. Yeah, I don't think that would be terribly cost effective. You don't have the paint yet. No, at least I hope not. But yeah, anyway, for council benefit or anybody, I can make this available. There was quite a plan up there. The road was designed was all over the hill, and you had houses on the they were single-family homes back then, I think. There you go. That was the top of the hill. Yeah. Okay. Council ready for public comment? Yes, sir. Yep, take a look at that if you want. I'll pass it on to David when you're done. Public comment on this.
Mayor?
Actually, on this, it's opening the public hearing.
Oh, you're right. It is public hearing. Public hearing is open on this matter.
Okay. I have no speaker cards, and I see no hands raised online.
All right. Well, we don't have a whole lot of public here to comment. All right, then I will close public comment. We return to council for further discussion and desired action.
We adopting a resolution tonight? Okay. If there's no further comment, I will make a motion to adopt resolution number 2024, next in order. A resolution approving a major modification of the Oat Hill multifamily residential project parcel A and B design permits located on the east side of Oat Hill, south of Napa Junction Road. File number PL 24-0009.
And before I second, I want to say that I think the Planning Commission did a really good job negotiating this to get it done, so thank you. I'll second that the motion.
Okay, motion second.
Councilmember Pierre Washington,
Yes.
Vice Mayor David Oro,
Yes.
Mayor Leon Garcia.
Before I cast my vote, I would like to know if they made a change in the color scheme. Would that be appropriate? Or do they have to stick by what's on this resolution?
The resolution would clarify that the changes into the color scheme.
I'm fine with the color that was presented. I mean, we'd have to modify that motion to make that change for that.
Without that, Mr. Ross?
If that's what you want, you know, you should consider a change in that portion of the resolution, which I believe is characterized by the same timing and method which is presented. I think it would be with respect to Exhibit 8, the color schemes. And then there would be a corresponding provision in the text. I'll find that if you give me a moment. But I think you should ascertain, you know, you have a motion pending on the floor. I think it would be appropriate to ascertain if the council as a whole wishes to consider that proposed change to the resolution. And then the motion for approval would have to be modified to reflect that. So I would suggest that you hold in abeyance the current motion, go back and ascertain among yourselves if there's support for consideration of clarification of Exhibit 8 on page 34. And if you give me a moment, I'll get the text provisions of the resolution. But there needs to be a discussion among the council as to whether or not that modification is something you wish to consider as a potential modification to the resolution proposed by staff.
Yeah. Okay. So you want me to pull my motion or obey my motion?
I think you can just stay it for the moment.
I'll stay my motion, and then I'll act out. I think the Planning Commission did good work. I actually like the different colors up there. I actually like the colors that are presented versus over the original. That was the first one. So I will continue to make a motion to pass the resolution as is.
And since you're at your bare quorum, all three of you would have to agree to a proposed change in the resolution. So, Councilmember Washington, if you want to state something on the record, now would be the time. I think the mayor's articulated his wishes for a modification.
I stay with my same opinion. I think the Planning Commission did a really good job. I thought they, took everything into consideration. And I'm fine with my stance with.
All right, so technically, if there was to be a motion to amend the resolution of approval, that motion to amend would fail by the discussion you just had. And the original motion would be back on the floor then for consideration.
Very good. Thank you for explaining that, Mr. Ross.
I'd like to resubmit my motion, I guess. Is that what it is? Yeah. So I made the motion.
And I second it.
Right. Do we need to do
Roll call
a roll
again?
call vote again?
Okay. Councilmember Washington,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Oro,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
No.
Okay. The resolution doesn't pass because you need 3 votes to do it. I think an appropriate consideration by the council as a whole would be reconsideration of the matter by a modified motion then, as this motion for approval failed.
Okay.
It did not get the required 3 votes. So is there another proposal for approving the recommendation made to you by the Planning Commission on this matter?
What, if we have a more full body here, what's the motion to make again?
This motion failed, so the matter's still before you. If one of you would like to make a motion to approve with some modification, in other words, engage in reconsideration of your consideration of the proposed staff recommendation for approval of the planning, major modification, a recommendation from the Planning Commission.
But would we have to be specific in what it is that the mayor is asking for? So when we have it reconsidered, it goes back to the planning commission, and now the planning commission gets a, I don't know, a
I think
palette of.
what I'm suggesting is, that the 3-member council, as it's now composed.
Mr. Ross, can you put the microphone closer to you, please?
I'm sorry. There, is that better?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What I'm suggesting is the council as composed, the motion for it approval has failed. The matter's still before you. Any of you can advance another motion, for approval of the project with recommendations for modification. You could also have a motion where you could refer the matter back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. I would think that the staff record about the extensive commission consideration of the matter would mitigate against that. So the matter's still before you. You can consider it again with modifications. You could see again, it's within your discretion to remand it to the Planning Commission. City manager wants to make a practical comment on the matter also.
Mr. Hawley?
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. With all due respect, Mayor, what I'd like to suggest, if I can figure out how to turn that light off, is that we take maybe a 5-minute recess here and kind of convene amongst ourselves. I want to understand the procedural issues here at play and simple majority and quorums and everything else. This is a little perplexing to me. So my suggestion, we take a little 5 minutes here and kind of chat about the procedural issues, because I'm a little confused about where we are in
I'd like to have a little better understanding of it myself. Thank you. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
All right, thank you.
Do they want us in there? I don't know if should we be part of it? Are we supposed to be in there? I think it's between. Really?
It right? Let's see. Nope, I didn't. Quit hovering because I think you're reading my typing. You could probably decipher if you wanted to. Okay, can I just do this?
No, it'll stay open. But
It'll stay open if I do this.
well, I think what we can do though is
Just do
do,
transition.
is do this thing here where it's up on the screen, and now I know for sure it'll stay up. It may have stayed up with those other stuff.
I know. When I do it at home, I cheat it and I keep it down because it just blocks out.
Okay, we're back from our discussion. Was somebody want to summarize mostly about the procedure of what works here? 3 votes. We have to have 3 votes to pass.
Correct, Mayor. My question was clarified. We have just the bare minimum this evening of the City Council, and for matters such as these, 3 votes are needed to pass, different than some other City Council actions. In this case, this particular City Council action takes actually 3 votes to pass, and so to the City Attorney's
None of us
point.
here have any reason to recuse ourselves from voting then.
Correct. You all are, there are no apparent conflicts for you all to recuse yourselves. So you're all clear to participate in that manner. So, which is why we're participating under this minimum quorum situation. So, as the city attorney stated, a total of 3 yes votes would be needed to move this item forward tonight. There's a variety of options that would be available to you. At the moment, the current motion did not pass. And so there's a variety of other options.
So our alternatives would be, well, see, the Planning Commission's already considered this, the issue I have.
Correct.
A couple times.
Correct. The Planning Commission considered this at 3 Planning Commission meetings. They discussed this particular topic at 2 of them, and had developed what I think was a unanimous recommendation at their last meeting on Thursday for you tonight.
Correct.
Well, it doesn't look likely that it would be any changes back from the Planning Commission, given that.
If you wanted to, refer this back to the Planning Commission, it would need to be some specificity and some instruction and some explanation as to what you would be asking them to do, having them already consider this pretty heavily.
I think we had done that sufficiently in the past.
And that would also have to be 3-0.
Correct. And to the city attorney's point, your decision to send it back to the Planning Commission would take also 3 votes. That same sort of scenario.
Right. Okay. Then that informs me a little better. I think it was sufficient work has been done on this. If they have addressed this, certainly the architectural changes have been addressed well, I think. And the Planning Commission has done their job. Then I will change my vote to a yes. Thank you. Just in the interest of getting the project moving forward.
Okay, my suggestion would be we have a roll call.
Thank you.
Repeat roll call then on the motion.
Repeat roll call, please.
Actually, there's been a motion and there has been a roll call. So if there's a motion to again approve the project, that would be an action you can take presently.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to again approve the project resolution number 2024 next in order. A resolution approving a major modification to the Oat Hill multifamily residential project parcel A and B design permits located on the east side of Oat Hill, south of Napa Junction Road. File number PL24-0009.
And I'll second.
We're going to do a roll call now.
Councilmember Washington?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Oro?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes. In the interest of getting the project moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, thank you for everybody's contribution to that discussion. Moving on to business, item 10, City Council Code of Conduct and Governance Protocols.
Speaking of protocol,
yes,
very timely conversation.
Timely, isn't it?
So this item for you is an informational item, and the city council has a code of conduct and governance protocols. It was first established back in 2007. Most recently, minor updates in 2021. There's been an ad hoc committee, Vice Mayor Earl, Councilmember Joseph, working to prepare a new version of the document. And the approach the subcommittee is taking is to really have this document focus on council conduct, how individual council members conduct themselves, how the council as a body conducts itself, decision-making, prioritization, so on and so forth. Individual council policies, whether they be administrative or other sorts of policies, are very important, but they're not going to be in this document. Those policies are more subject to change more frequently over time, and kind of stand on their own. And so the current document kind of interweaves council conduct and policies and great ideas, and it's sort of a mashup of a lot of different kinds of documents. And so the idea is to kind of strip out and really focus on city council members, and then the body as itself. And it's meant to apply to commission appointees and commissions as well. And so I say that to say it's been quite a long work, quite a lot of effort's gone into it from the subcommittee and staff, and City Clerk Teresa Gufus has been extraordinary help in pulling this all together as well. And the idea with this document, and what you saw a month ago now, was just the body of the document, and what you see now are all of these appendices. And so there's envisioned to be 6 appendices, and these are third-party expert guidances on the various laws and rules and topics that the city council has to follow. But those are topics that are applied by and required by others, and the appendices themselves are very important, very detailed, and produced by others, other third parties, such as the Fair Political Practices Commission or CalCities or the Institute of Local Government. And so the idea around this, the approach to this document is it's a small body, roughly 30 pages, I think, and then there's a number of lengthy appendices. So the hope is that the new council, when we have a new council later this year, will all start to be accustomed and familiarize themselves first with the body of the code of conduct and the protocols, and then get into all of the detail that is in these appendices. So that's why this document, although we tried to shorten it, really ended up quite a bit longer. It's those appendices that are, the heavy content in the back. And over time, those appendices will be changed, right? If there's a minor update to the Brown Act, we can be sure that CalCities will have some additional guidance, and so the 2026 or the 2027 guidance on that particular issue would get swapped out here as an appendix. But the content in the main body wouldn't have to get changed very frequently. And so the concept here also is we would adopt by ordinance, the council would adopt by ordinance this idea of having a city council code of conduct and governance protocols. And then if you wanted to change it, you would then have to adopt an ordinance, and those would be substantive changes to the body of the document. If we needed to swap out an appendix because there's some additional guidance or what have you from CalCities, we could just do a minute order in the future and we'd swap that out. So procedurally, we were wanting to, be able to kind of separate those two ideas, that the local sort of response and the local way of approaching how we conduct business here was something the council will memorialize, but our guidance from third parties is something we're going to swap out as it makes sense and is required. So, like I said, we did bring this forward to your September 3rd meeting. We got council input and feedback, and have made, all the committee members and staff have made changes. And the updated draft is now shown in attachment 1. So, I think really wanted to see if there are any additional questions or any other issues that haven't been resolved before we bring this forward at your next council meeting on October 15th. I think some of I was going to try and point to maybe some of the updates. We refined how the role of the city council was described. That was an important point from council at your last meeting, and that starts to show up what is page 11 of the document and page 60 of your packet. And it really, I think, sets the stage for what the council's role and responsibilities are up front. The verbiage is the same, but I think it was Vice Mayor Oro that kind of pointed out that it was sort of fragmented all over, and what we've done is to try to consolidate, how a city council member goes and reads about what the city council roles and responsibilities are. And so that shows up starting on page 60, and then it kind of moves into the different relationships that the city council has, both with staff and outside bodies, commissions, et cetera. The next section 4 talks about how council should be making decisions. And we, wanted to note that you can delegate. We wanted to note that setting goals and initiatives is all very important. We wanted to also describe the sources of information from which your decision making is. There was some language previously that really gave the impression maybe that you're only supposed to listen to staff and not bring your own expertise or bring the consultants to the table or anything like that. So we've really expanded, to say you're going to be making decisions in the best interest of the community, but there's this variety of resources that you should be drawing upon to make those decisions. And the governance section really starts talking about how we orient around our mission, vision, values, goals, and strategies. That plays a key part in how you should be making decisions. That's not that document, starting on page 64, page 15 of the document, page 64 of your packet. That exhibit, it isn't even in our governance protocols at the moment. Like, we make decisions around goals and strategies, and it's not even in our governance protocols to actually do that. So that's why we felt it important to have in there. We talk, starting on page 68 of the packet, really getting into meetings and what a meeting is and how not to inadvertently have a meeting when you're not intending to. And we talk procedurally about parts of the meeting. And so forth, and then actually, procedures, parliamentary procedures, and other kinds of procedures during meetings. So that gets really granular particularly for new council members on how a meeting happens and what they can expect during meetings. And then the last section does talk about council member compensation. We clarified that the compensation changes would happen with the new council on December 3rd, one of the other aspects that we added in here, and talking with at least it was Councilmember Joseph and I had talked about this. We actually hadn't talked about this with Vice Mayor Oro, but there's a little bit of confusion around the new legislation and cost of living increases for council members. And what we sort of landed on is this idea, and this was discussed at your last meeting, that if council members are going to be getting a 10% raise, it's going to be pretty hard to tell staff you get a 3% raise, even though the dollar amounts we're talking about aren't nearly the same. It's going to be kind of hard to have that negotiation. So we put in some language in here, page 76 of your packet under cost of living. It kind of describes about the first pay period and that you will get cost of living increases, but you're not going to get cost of living increases that exceed what the general unit bargaining group gets for cost of living increases, kind of tying those two situations together. And you don't have to. You're free to do whatever the law would allow. But we felt, that it might be more appropriate, especially given some of the uncertainty about those increases and how that legislation is written, to tie yourself to whatever the bargaining groups are doing and to not get out in front of them. As just sort of a policy kind of. I think, so we said, look, it would take place the first pay period in December, and then starting in January of 26, and then every January thereafter is when those increases would happen. But procedurally, how we would address that would be in June, the prior June, because in June we regularly come with salary schedules, cost of living increases. That's what we do for the employees, because that starts to take place on the July 1st fiscal year. So the idea would be to start a routine where in June, in addition to the salary schedules, we would have an item that goes to council that talks about your increases, although they don't take effect until the following January. We would line that calendar up as a routine matter every June, because we're in that mode. It would go in the salary schedule, so on and so forth. So procedurally, it's kind of how we thought we would implement that. But that's something that's here that doesn't have to be. You guys are free to do whatever the law might allow. I think the other thing that procedure will allow you to do is to really quantify your compensation benefits at that time each June, so there's not any confusion whether they be vehicle stipends, telephone stipends, those sorts of things. Oftentimes by June, in good times we're not thinking about this, but there have been times in the past in the city's history where financial situation hasn't been great and council members have waived their compensation. They've waived their vehicle stipends. They wanted to show cost savings. Mayor Garcia might remember some of that.
Well, we have done that in the past.
Right, and so June is that perfect time to do that from a budgeting perspective. And so, you know, that's why this language on page 27 of the matter, or 76 in your packet, that's why it doesn't have an exact dollar amount. What we're talking about is each June saying, here's what the council compensation is going to be, and having it tied to our budget process from a timing perspective, but the specificity of that annual discussion is what would happen in June. A little bit of discussion around administrative support, and then it really starts to get into the appendices, conflict of interest from the FPPC. Cal City is talking about public records requests. Cal City is talking about the Brown Act, public meetings. Institute of Local Government talking about Institute of Local Government talking about I think AB 1234 is kind of what I think. Hold on. AB 1234, the financial interest, et cetera. And there is a required training that all council members and new council members are required to do and keep updated. And we actually specify that in the code of conduct to say it's your responsibility to be trained under AB 2134 and 1234, and you actually have to give those records to the city clerk. Lastly, in the very back, almost the last page, I suspect. Yeah, very last page, 298 of the packet, is this list of policies that live outside of this document that would be adopted by the council, for myself and for staff to implement, but they're not going to be part of this document. This document references the fact that there are all kinds of policies, and those are subject to change as the need arises and the council sees fit. But we didn't want to tie this document, having to be updating this document every time, we decided to, to change how we're banking or to change what our fiscal reserves are going to be or anything like that. We don't have to go back and change our protocols. That's meant to be a different sort of process. So that's why we have this list. This list is not exhaustive. And we're not going to be bound by, we can certainly add to this list and have all the policies that we need. So that's just a little clarification of what Appendix G is all about. Bill, was there something you wanted to supplement regarding Code of Conduct section? This is Section 2, Code of Conduct, item number 11.
Yes, it is. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Our office has examined this, and we've come up with a proposed amendment to that section. I'd like to say that that section has to remain flexible simply because of the nature of the dynamic of two constitutional rights that it involves. One, the Establishment Clause, which preserves freedom of religion, and two, the right to free speech. And so in doing that, we've drafted something that addresses religious invocations, displays, and attire. I've raised the content of that with the council in a privileged communication, but the matter's now in open session. I'm just going to summarize that provision and say it will be refined for your final consideration on the 15th, but it would be entitled Religious Invocation, Displays, and Attire. City Council acknowledged the city's diverse religious and ethnic backgrounds and the importance of citizens' rights to freedom of religion, while also recognizing constitutional limitations imposed by federal and state laws on such expression in governmental meetings like the City Council. Invocations not in the form of prayer are allowed at the beginning of council meetings to emphasize the seriousness of the occasion. An invocation cannot advance or disparage one religious faith over another, nor invoke one religious deity over another. Invocations must remain non-sectarian in content and may not include proselytizing language or language that's attempt to convert people. Prayer by a council member or a council during a council meeting would be prohibited. Religious displays are permitted on city property provided they are educational in nature and do not advance nor disparage one religion over another. Finally, city officials may wear religious attire associated with their respective beliefs, but should be mindful that when such displays may encourage conduct that distracts from the purpose of the governmental conduct involved, that would be prohibited. So that will be refined for inclusion at your next council meeting. I want to go back to what I said originally. This has to be a flexible policy. If anything, the amount of challenges to the use of what was called originally by the Supreme Court in 1983 in the Mars case, legislative prayer is prohibited. But invocations that don't don't reference a deity of any religion or disparage or have content that advances one religion over another are allowed. So the current policy had to be amended, but I would again emphasize, when you consider this policy at the next meeting, recognize, please, that it is flexible. It's meant to be flexible because the interpretations coming out of both the Supreme Court and the requisite Court of Appeals and California State Court further refine what I'm going to call our fence lines in this area. That, again, go back to, we're not talking about something minor here. It's a major balancing test that has to take place. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion. So that's my comment. It'll be articulated in writing for your consideration as a part of the policies at the next meeting.
Thank you, Bill. The only other item I wanted to note, we talked about future agenda items, and there's some updated language on page 75 of the packet that really explains, I'll say, what shows up right now on all of our agendas at the end. We have a list of future agenda items. We have what are proposed dates. Those are the dates that staff's been working the presentations and staff reports towards, and a list of items that don't have a scheduled date, council requested items that we haven't yet scheduled. And so there's a log, or you will, or a tracking mechanism at each council meeting where that can be reviewed. And so it's the opportunity during that part of the council agenda where the council can direct the scheduling to be different. So if we had, for example, tonight we were going to talk about the Newell Drive. It was a council requested item, an update on Newell Drive. Council felt like, you know what, we only have 3 members tonight. We want to have everybody hear this topic. Staff, make sure you wait until October 15th to bring that item forward. That's the kind of thing, the kind of dialogue we'd have a couple of meetings ago when that council requested item came forward. Is you can say, okay, we want to have this meeting and that meeting, and so it's a way to have that two-way conversation, I'll call it, on an agendized item, that we provide at each council meeting. So we wanted to clarify that. I think that's all I have. Certainly take any other questions or comments or additional direction from the council before we try and finalize this for the first reading of the ordinance next council meeting on the 15th.
Okay. Council comment, Councilmember Washington.
Yeah, I actually just want to take the time to thank you, City Attorney Bill Ross, for doing the research on that item number 11. It meant a lot to me and several people in the community that brought it to my attention as well. So thank you.
Okay. Vice Mayor O, any comment?
I've been working on this for 18 months. I don't need to comment anymore. So, thank you.
Well, I appreciate your time and effort you put into this thing. It sounds like I really like appreciate the consideration to Councilmember Washington's concern with that, and I think you, as I'm hearing you elaborate on that, Mr. Ross, that sounds like it's covered fair ground. I just recall that in many respects, a uniqueness about American Canyon is every major faith in the world is represented in our population here in American Canyon. And I think having attended many of their faith sessions myself, I think what you describe is something that sounds very workable for all of us to be considered in that respect. So thank you. I like the idea that you're separating out areas that you may need a little tweaking or minor change, and we don't have to do a whole document thing all over again. That's a very smart way of putting that together. You just deal with that issue, and it's back on board. That would be my comment. Council ready for public comment?
Yes, sir.
Public comment is open.
I have no one online and no hands raised downstairs.
Okay, and I see no one in the audience who's dashing to the podium to make a comment, so. All right, thank you. We'll close public comment. And what action is desired here? Let me check it again.
No action tonight, Mayor, staff. We're going to go back through with the fine-tooth comb, make sure we're grabbing any typos,
Yeah.
make sure our table of contents makes sense, drafting the ordinance as we speak, and you'll see it on the 15th.
Yeah. Yeah, I see some of these that are brought forward are put together by other parts of government, so, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to our agenda, wastewater enterprise update.
There we go. Good evening, Mayor, council
Good evening.
members, community of American Canyon. Erica Almond-Smithies, Public Works Director. Just giving you a short update of the last quarter of the wastewater enterprise systems. As you know, we have the water reclamation plant, wastewater collections, to sum up our maintenance divisions of the wastewater enterprise. What I'm not sharing tonight was the environmental compliance branch of that. They usually do their own update. This is solely the wastewater side of the house, though the big part of that is environmental compliance from that division. Just wanted to do a quick little operations and maintenance activities. This past year, I just wanted to show what the water reclamation treatment and production has been at the plant. Very similar to the years past. As you all see, the spike in the total influent to the plant usually peaks during the winter times when we're getting the I&I or the additional stormwater flows. And then it evens out as far as our use of recycled water along with our treatment of the plant. This summer's been very busy. As you know, we have the 3 ponds out at the facility maintenance plant. The center one has not seen maintenance in a while, and we have an interim water systems manager that's assisting with, while we're in transition with a new assistant public works director, which we'll update you on in 2 weeks. But he's been seeing areas of improvement out at the plant, and one of them was the center pond and increasing capacity. As far as wastewater flows, the city staff, our collections crew, as you can see in the photos behind me, we rented the equipment for approximately $13,000 for the past month to start cleaning out the center pond with our own, with the rental equipment and our own dump trucks. And they removed about 2,500 cubic yards of vegetation and sludge that increased the capacity by 500,000 gallons of wastewater. This will help our influent flows during the winter months, as well as just keep the normal maintenance. This is all at a cost of about $15,000 to the wastewater enterprise, which in the years past, when we've hired someone to do this work, has taken, I think it's at least $100,000 a year, if not more, to do some of this maintenance. So,
wow, that's expensive.
Where does it go?
We through recycled Recology through our contract. So, and also it's clean sludge. It's actually clean material. Some of it actually stays on site until it dries out. But it's really beautiful, non-toxic soil that's on the top. It grows, as you can see, quite a bit of vegetation. I also wanted to show a little bit of a slide of our city staff at work. I was impressed. This is one of the largest large long reach excavators. I didn't share the video where they're it's rocking on the ledge there, but it has a 60-foot reach. And it's one of our own key staff, Eric Reisenberg, who's been with the city a little over 10 years, I believe. And then one of our other collection staff that's driving the trucks. We had 2 trucks operating all day, removing that sludge and moving it around to the other end to dump. And then once it dries out, it can either be off-hauled or it can be used on site. But Recology is also one of our haulers for sediment disposal. Green Island Road pump station improvements. This is the new Green Island pump station. We've had some VFD pump failures since it's been commissioned. And we hired our outside consultant, Telstar, to do some troubleshooting for us. And it turned out we were getting moisture. They had louver windows, those windows, and then the pump down at the bottom of the pump station building, which was sucking in the moisture out there. As you know, we're in that marine climate. It was sucking in wet air and then burning up the pump with the wet electrical components. So by doing a little innovation, by repurposing an old shed that was at the plant, they were able to nix some of that moisture coming into the new pump station, and we haven't had any issues since. It's been a couple of months now, or 3 months now, and we haven't had any issues. And we've burned through about $25,000 since the first commissioning of this new pump station with just moisture issues. And thanks to looking ahead, we also checked out the Watson Ranch. It was similarly built, but we haven't had the moisture issues out on Watson Ranch side, so we've made some improvements on that side as well. The general sewer collections, I love this photo in the middle is one of our staff members just doing his work with a smile, not with a smile, but at least peace signs, and just doing their normal maintenance activities in the street, jetting the sewer lines, getting us prepped for the winter. And then some of the Vector trucks out at the wastewater reclamation, or the water reclamation facility. And they've also assisted us with our courtyard relocation assistance. As you know, we got a new modular trailer, and we need to hook up our own utilities to it. It's a little bit of a sweat equity project, so the collections team came over and helped us excavate and put in a new sewer lateral. And I'm just happy to show here that they're also all wearing their protective equipment, their PPE properly, their glasses on the work site. Other wastewater enterprise activities, we're looking to come to council here in a couple of weeks on completing a membrane replacement. Veolia proposed that they could help us replace our whole train system, membrane system over 4 years, the 5-year repayment period at no extra interest. This should be a cost savings to the city instead of a big bulk $2.5 million purchase up front. Also saves the enterprise the ability to do other capital improvement projects that are needed on those single outlay years instead of having that big cost up front and to the ratepayers. In addition, we had for quite a while a $500,000 blower retrofit project as a capital improvement project with some new eyes at the plant with our interim and our mechanic that's been here for quite a while. The suggestion was, why don't we just replace what we have? The parts are easily available, and it's a cost savings to the city, and we can work on those existing blowers. So it's not old science. It's just just rethinking what we're doing out at the site. And I like the innovation of our staff, but $500,000 can go towards other projects right now. They'll also be commissioning the old Green Island pump station and repurposing it so it may be utilized for other use, such as nonprofit. And then other activities are ongoing monthly and quarterly and annual reporting to the state, which is tied into our environmental services division that also works very closely with our wastewater enterprise. And that's it. This is our one of our contractors, Synagro, that was helping us measure the depths at our sludge pond, and I like the picture. A lot of teamwork out there. They didn't charge us for doing that depth sounding out there. They just wanted to be part of the project.
Say, it's not that deep.
You always make sure you have someone on the other line of the rope, right? I don't see a paddle. There is a paddle in there.
Not wearing a life jacket.
Yeah, he is.
He is.
He is.
I asked the same question. I thought it was a little puffer vest, but it's actually a small life vest. So.
Okay.
But a lot of innovation going on the last 3 months, and I attribute that to some new eyes, fresh eyes at the plant, and getting more help out there.
How's our capacity looking with our projected growth? I mean, at some point, that has to be something we look at, I think. Well, we're building more houses, so there's more water, there's more wastewater.
Yeah, it's a great question, Mayor. The treatment plant kind of has 2 seasons.
Yeah.
You have the summer season when it's not raining,
Yeah.
and you have more concentrated influence, and so it's treating more biologically, and you know, it isn't the volume that you're treating; it's the nutrients and the other you know, chemistry that you're trying to get addressed. And so, you know, we have capacity at the plant now, and we also have capacity where we could add additional trains. And we're looking at, I've been here so long now, we're looking at our third train replacement. When I started here, the original ones were on their last legs. We got some new ones, and now these are at the end of their life cycle, and we're looking at some new ones. So I'm starting to date myself now. But so we do have some additional capacity. The infrastructure is there to add some new trains if we wanted to, if we really were expanding the summertime volume, but we're not there yet on our capacity in the summertime volume. Where we do see the constraint is right up there on that screen, that spike, and it's in the wintertime. And it's not because we can't handle the organics or the nutrients or the pollutants that are coming our way. What's coming to us during those spikes is 90% or more rainwater. And so it's not hard to treat biologically because it's mostly rainwater. But what is hard to treat from a production perspective, because we got to make the pumps run fast and the blowers got to go fast. And so we use those ponds as kind of a buffering in the system. So sometimes we divert to those ponds and then we treat, you know, a little bit later. So our system is a pretty quick system. It doesn't take long for someone to flush a toilet and for it to end to us, for it to get to our treatment plant. So we'll use those ponds as buffering, and then after it's stopped raining, you know,
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the reason that we get so much rainwater during the winter is parts of our system are pretty porous. We have some of the older parts of town with a peaking factor of close to 10 in some areas. We've even measured 11 over in the Rancho area. Our newer parts of our system are fairly tight. You know, rainwater will still get in certain places.
You're getting the rainwater getting into the sewer line.
Correct, but not in our newer subdivisions. It's mostly in our older system, parts of our system. So to gain capacity for this particular obstacle, all you have to do is fix parts of the system that are leaking. You don't need to create necessarily more treatment capacity. If you just closed up some of your leaky areas, you'd buy yourself some capacity. It's a reverse version of Cast for Grass, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah. No, I think the Rancho area built in 1950s, pretty antiquated.
Yeah, I mean, when the era of when those homes were built, it was not uncommon for developers to connect the downspouts on your gutters on your house directly into the drain and go into the sewer. That was seen as a common thing to do because you wanted to rid yourself of that nuisance water. Now, that creates problems for us. So, you know, we have those bits and parts of the system that we have to address that I&I.
Well, I've got a plan on that. I connect the downspout to rain barrel.
True, and that works, except when your rainbow, you know, once your rainbow is full, then it's got to go somewhere.
Well, yeah, I've got about 14 of them, so it takes a while.
Well, you're proficient at the rain barrels, yes.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions from
No, sir.
anybody online wanting to make a comment?
All right.
I see, there are no hands raised.
Appreciate the update. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, on to, do you have anything further on management staff oral reports?
Yes, Director Akita has the latest happenings in American Canyon, and Brent also has an update.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We have quite a lot going on over the next 2 weeks, starting with tomorrow, October 2nd. We have our Open Space Active Transportation and Sustainability Commission meeting at 6:30 p.m. And then on October 3rd and October 4th, the Doubletree will be hosting their end of summer event from 6 to 8:30. And then on October 3rd as well will be the Mayor and Council Forum. This is hosted by the American Canyon Chamber of Commerce and will be at the Boys and Girls Club starting at 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And then on Friday, October 4th, we're going to be having our first ever Barktoberfest over at Northampton Park. Please come out and bring your best friend and be prepared to meet some new friends. There'll be some food trucks out there to just have a little bit of community get together. And that'll be from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then on October 5th, the American Canyon Fire Protection District will be holding their open house at the 911 Donaldson Way Public Safety Building. There will be a quiet hour with no sirens or lights from 10 to 11, and then open to everyone will be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Also that day, we have the Pumpkin Path at the Wetlands. This is brought to you by the American Canyon Arts Foundation. This is going to be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then right next door to it, or probably most likely along with it, the American Canyon Community Parks Foundation will be hosting their Wetlands Coffee Morning from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the fun doesn't stop there. We keep going into that day. We also have our Pool Pumpkin Patch and Splash at the Philip West Aquatic Center from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Come on down and swim with some pumpkins. And then I know we've kind of already talked about it already this evening, but I will do another plug for the Manila Munchies Foodie Night. This is in partnership with Phil Am, and it's going to be at the adjacent to the Holy Family Catholic Church. And then on Sunday, October 6th, we have the American Canyon 4-H Annual Pumpkin Sale. This is going to be at 4-H at Wetlands Edge Drive from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then also that day, we have the Mad Hatter Tea Party at the Adult Activity Center from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. On October 9th, lace up your walking shoes and join together with the Napa, join and participate in Napa County Walk and Roll to School Day. This is in partnership with Safe Routes Napa County Bicycle Coalition, California Office of Traffic Safety, and Spare the Air. And then on October 10th and 11th, the Doubletree will be also hosting the end of summer event from 6 to 8:30. On October 12th, join us to learn about all the birds down at the wetlands. That is going to be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then on October 4th, the offices will be closed in observance of a holiday. Thank you.
All right. A lot of things happening always.
All right, well, thank you, Council and Mayor. I'm glad you're sitting because I want to let you know that the General Plan EIR has been released for a 45-day review, and along with that, the updated General Plan. So it's available online, and at the next Planning Commission meeting, we'll have a review of the EIR, and looking forward to moving that along.
All right. Thank you.
Do you want to also give a little update on Napa Cove?
Oh, yeah. Let's see, the first building of Napa Cove was released 2 weeks ago for residents, and we are just a day away from perhaps a second building being released for residents. The third building will be released when everything else related to the project is all wrapped up and finished. But in the meantime, we were able to release 2 buildings. They passed safety inspections and have all of their appropriateness for our residents to move in.
All right. Good to hear. Yeah. I think we've been waiting.
When that first group of folks are going to move in?
I think they may be doing it now.
I think they're already there.
Yeah.
So they've been move-ins, we've been told.
Wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That's all we
Maybe
had,
they'll be,
Mayor. Oh.
and maybe they'll come to our Citizens Academy.
Well, yeah, we got
It's
so many
possible.
things to do now.
It's possible.
It's more busy this time of year, too.
Yeah, and actually, that's a great segue. The only update I had, Mayor, was our Citizens Academy has kicked off. We had our opening night last night. You all were there. But for the public, we had our kickoff last night, and we had our first Watson Ranch residents attend Citizens Academy. So that was
I think there were 3.
There were 3, yeah. So it was a great milestone. And this week, they're going to be over at the Public Safety Building talking to our friends in the fire district. So
Okay.
That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to council comments, committee reports. Anything to report, Councilmember Washington?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Vice Mayor Oro.
The Napa Valley Tourism Corporation Committee, which works closely with the Visit Napa Valley, appointed 2 new chairs. Hold on a second. They are Marcel Adderley and Sarah Brooks. They are 2 hotelers, one at the Napa River Inn and I think one in St. Helena. Marcel is an American Canyon resident, so she's now chair of the Napa Valley Tourism Corporation. But short term, because we're in transition. Longtime chair Don Schindel, who is the GM of the Westin Veranda in Napa, had stepped down. We also hired a lawyer that will come on board to advise Napa Valley Tourism Corporation solely. We found that as a gap with the recent issues that were popping up in the media over there, and so we hired one. You may be familiar with him. He was an auctioneer at Evening at the Ruins. His name is Richard Piarota.
Oh, yeah.
Him and his dad do a lot of auctions.
Okay, yeah.
And he's a Napa native too, so he knows this area well. The only other thing I wanted to invite you to mention was I got word of an event that the third grade teacher, Bridget Cadwell, is putting together. It looks like what they do at Canyon Oaks, they're going to do at Donaldson Way, which is the garden open house on October 20th between 11 and 2 p.m. I think we're going to send out a communication from the city, but Donaldson Way Elementary School's garden open house. It's a community event on, again, October 30th, 11 to 2 p.m. They have an Amazon wish list and a donation if you guys want to do some stuff there. But I was talking to them about it. They were going to do it between 1 and 3 that day. And I said, oh, no, you can't do that. I said, it's the 49ers versus the Chiefs. Nobody's going to show up. So they're doing it in the morning. So nobody has any excuse to not make it. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for your report. The Climate Action Committee had a very interesting presentation on retrofitting houses to all electric. And certainly, as people move more in that direction, what is it? There's a window here where, for example, the traditional hot water heater tank gas will no longer be sold in the Bay Area. And by 2040, that's 2035. 2045, they won't be allowed in the state of California. Everybody's converting to electric. Went over some costs, and somewhere in the area of around $20,000, as I recall, to modify a house by removing changing over the gas stove, dryer, furnace, are the big consumers of it. And it was a very thorough presentation on that. It was good to hear that. I've been looking for that for a while. The other piece of the conversation is where do we have the talent out there for example, trades. You have to have a plumber, a carpenter, an electrician to be able to make this thing work. And the talent pool provides opportunity for young people to enter into a skilled trade, earn a better living. Mr. Terry McGrath had a great event at the Ruins. I think he was kind of testing the capacity for a performing artist. That was Chris Shipleff, former one of the Foo Fighters, but a very good crowd from quite a diverse areas. I'm talking to people attended, and I think it's looking well for when the amphitheater gets in. It's going to be even more. The chamber had the coffee chat again this month, so there's a lot more attendance now that summer is over. No, not necessarily in the weather arena, but the calendar it is. So there's more representation. Newer people are showing up in the business community. Phil M. Picnic was a big success this last weekend. That's really putting in. You heard from comment from the Filipino community tonight about their aspirations and being engaged in the community and their contributions. Let's see, did I get everything? Oh, had a great coffee chat with the new principal of American Canyon High School. She had a group of folks involved in terms of looking at engaging with family members and their concerns. They're trying to deal with misbehavior rather than being punitive as a redirection into something more constructive, which is very hopeful. And that would do it for me. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think we have concluded our business for the evening, council. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Good night, American Canyon.